This is the Mint live on ZTN Prime, your sneak peek into the world of business, finance, and economies. I'm Ibram Nabunda. Let's get started. Coming up, Edgar's has to date spent over $1.2 million in a retooling exercise at its Carso manufacturing unit in Bulawayo over a period of over 18 months. Speaking at the company's recent analyst briefing, Carso Manufacturing Managing Director bankman-fried said the retooling of Carso will bring efficiency to the group's operations. The International Monetary Fund says Zimbabwe has made significant strides in stabilizing its economy, but there is need for reforms to maintain such improvements in the long term. We look at a report by Melissa Chatikobo. In an effort to improve the capacity of network connectivity, reliability and speed, PowerTel Communications has partnered with Paratus Africa to upgrade the company's infrastructure links. We'll look at a report. The Road Accident Fund has applied for a contempt of court order against the South African Revenue Services because of its alleged failure to adhere to an interim interdict prohibiting the Tax Collection Authority from deducting 5.1 billion rand or any part of this amount from the RAF fuel levies it collects for the fund. Gold miners operating in Ghana and Ivory Coast are refusing to comply with tax increases imposed this year, saying the new regulations flout their existing license agreements. As Israel and Iran continue to exchange deadly salvos, there are growing concerns that the conflict will spread across one of the world's key oil and gas producing regions. Equity markets initially were roiled after Israel's surprise attack on Friday, but have since stabilized. The shipping industry must set a global example in protecting marine ecosystems through cooperation and green initiatives, said International Maritime Organization Secretary General Arsenio Dominguez at the recent 3rd UN Ocean Conference. Of course, we take a look at these stories in detail here on The Mint. The Mint will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Of a period of over 18 months. The plant is a hub for modern fashion designs, producing high-quality clothes and supplying its three main chain stores, Edgar's, Jet and Express stores countrywide, as well as servicing exports. The initiative has created massive job opportunities for women and youth who dominate the staff complement at the giant garment-making factory. Speaking at the company's recent analyst briefing, Carso Manufacturing Managing Director bankman-fried said the retooling of Carso will bring efficiency to the group's operations. Carso is also looking to spend over 800,000 on increasing its capacity.
It was important that we retool to ensure that we improve the execution of the stitching in our garments, and of course, yes, to also ensure that we have the machinery we need to support production. So we invested in sewing machines, fusing machines, printers, etc. But the latest addition to our retooling exercise is the cutting room solution, and we are happy to say that we got some tremendous support out of RBZ via the banks. We got that funding via the TFF, that facility. I think we're giving something around 10 million ZIG, and that's what we are using to fund the cutting room solution. It's going to dramatically change how we produce at the factory. So nearly 1.2 million expended last year, but we're still not stopping there. We still think that there's a lot of other things that we need to do to ensure that we continue with our drive to improve the quality, drive to improve the volumes at the factory. Those are just a list of some of the machinery that we think we should be having, and some of them are very immediate. We hope that we should be able to get into laundry, revamp our laundry machinery, and revamp our embroidery machine. Those, I think, are very immediate projects that we would want to see happening within this this year. Laundry machinery, because we want to go into denim production in a very, very big way. Some of the machinery that we have already imported will be used for the denim production plant. And the laundry machinery is just the last jigsaw, the last piece in the jigsaw puzzle.
Now, as I said before, Carousel is also looking to spend another 800,000 on increasing its capacity and expanding into denim manufacture against a target of increasing its production from 50,000 garments per month to 100,000 garments per month as it used to do in 1999. Tanyanyua says increasing production will give the group the capacity to export into the region. 60% of Zimbabwe's clothing needs are being serviced by mushrooming in former boutiques, and of course Edgar's group is looking to address this challenge in the market.
So what is affordable fashion from our view, which is what is called fast fashion out there? So this is a segment that we notice to be rising in Zimbabwe in particular. These are for customers that are looking for fashionable items without really breaking the bank or their pockets in acquiring that fashion. So typically, I think, as I mentioned it already, we're looking at people like the millennials that we're not really shopping from our stores, and the Gen Z. So we are continuing to work around this, and it's becoming a major project with Carousel to try and attract that customer. Not only just the millennials and the Gen Z, even the young at heart like Mr. T, they are also inspired by this kind of trendy fashion. So we are really, even this year as we go on, we're trying to really try and capture that fashionability that is going to distinguish us from the market without really going too high on pricing, which was the pricing strategy that we went for last year to try and survive. There's celebrities and obviously for the upper end of Edgar's, the catwalks of this world, the runways actually influence that fast fashion that we're talking about.
Now, in response, Edgar's is developing fresh designs targeted toward the Gen Z and millennials through its research and development efforts.
What is critical, and also what we've done behind the scenes, is to try and be relevant to these generations that are saying we're not in the Edgar's segment, they say. So we are working with Carousel to establish a fully fledged R&D research department there. We are increasing the young fashion designers. I'm sure some of you have seen us in our fashion extravaganza. We work with the young local designers. So we actually now put them in the factory to try and improve the skills and commercialize their skills. At the same time, becoming relevant to the market through their design. So that is something that we're really trying to push, to grow our own fashion that our own people want in the sizes that our people want. We are looking at shops the same as in the region and internationally. That's what Edgar's is there to position, to cater for that clientele that is aspiring to be right at the top. So their quality is never compromised. The fabrications that Manfred was talking about, and exclusivity. And exclusivity comes in the way that we have our own internal brands that we are selling that you will not get anywhere else in the market. Our own in-house brands like Coat, Stone Harbor, those are actually owned by us. That's the exclusivity that we then bring to the market, which resonates very well with our customers.
Well, of course, Edgar's is seeking to move in line with the trends that we're seeing on the market, and of course see to it that its service delivery is efficient and seamless on the market.
So 800K is what we are hoping to be investing into the future this year and into next year. Increase productivity. We currently producing somewhere around the 45 to 50,000 units a month, and we are confident that if we get the new cutting room solution, we should be able to double that to 100,000, which has always been our target, to get to those volumes and go beyond, especially so if we then do shift work. But such is the importance of the cutting room solution. And the end game of all of this is to achieve regional competitiveness. I think that A CFTA is coming, and it is important that we all get ready for it, and retooling sort of gets us to that position where we will be able to compete with all the other good manufacturers within Africa and beyond. So exports remains one of those carrots that we want to be able to have in the near future.
Now, the International Monetary Fund says Zimbabwe has made significant strides in stabilizing its economy, but there is need for reforms to maintain such improvements in the long term. Talks are currently underway for a potential staff monitor program, a key step towards debt restructuring and eventual access to international credit.
The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has acknowledged Zimbabwe's economic progress both on the fiscal and monetary side. From highlighting tighter fiscal controls, inflation slowdown, and improved exchange rate management as key achievements over the past year.
Zimbabwe has achieved macroeconomic stability in recent months, which is welcome. That stability has mostly been achieved through a tightening of monetary policy, as you mentioned, following the large devaluation of the ZiG last year. Inflation has been slow, growth is recovering.
The global lender said Harare has shown commitment to macroeconomic reforms, a critical signal as discussions on a staff-monitored program continue. However, there is need for more reforms on the fiscal front to ensure long-term stability.
Now the macro stability has been achieved through tight monetary policy. We think it's a window of opportunity for the Zimbabwean authorities to implement reforms that would turn the current macro stability into a durable one. So we think that to make it long-lasting, to make sure that the stability you are seeing now is sustained.
An SMP is an informal arrangement under which the IMF tracks a country's economic policies. For Zimbabwe, a successful SMP could help unlock the door to international debt relief and possible re-engagement with global creditors. Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Budget and Finance says it will play its oversight role to ensure monetary and fiscal institutions are in line.
We believe that your SMP is a good move. We want to continue to engage with the IMF. We accommodate you, and we believe that your work is noble and you achieve desired results at the end.
Meanwhile, oversight maintains 6% growth for 2025.
We project that we would raise 7.5 billion through Zimra collections, and that is 270.3 billion Zimbabwean dollars. US 1.5 billion, that's 1.591, was collected in the first quarter against a target of 1.53. So there's an excess. We exceeded the target.
Zimbabwe's government says it remains committed to engaging transparently with the IMF and implementing agreed reforms. Deliberations results between the two parties will be released at the end of this week. Reporting for ZTN Prime, I am Melissa Chatkobo in Mount Hamden.
Melissa, thank you for giving us that report. Now, in an effort to improve the capacity of network connectivity, reliability and speed, Powertel Communications has partnered with Paratus Africa to upgrade the company's infrastructure links. This development is set to be launched in November this year, with the agreement having been signed in Harare on Monday. We get more in the following report.
A shift from single to dynamic routing, this is expected to provide adaptability and resilience to network challenges. Powertel Managing Director believes the significant shift in internet development will promote relatively cheaper internet to consumers.
The catchy thing of this agreement is that we are going to bring, in fact, we are now bringing high-speed, very cheap, affordable internet. I can't tell you the price because it's almost for free. Internet will be sort of for free if you come to Powertel. Because of this upgraded network, we'll be able to carry high volumes of bandwidth or internet.
Currently, network paths come from Johannesburg. However, the upgrade will result in some of it being routed through Botswana.
So when you are surfing the internet, most of that internet is sitting in Johannesburg. So what is super important is that there are different routes from Zimbabwe to Johannesburg. So The natural ones are through Baitbridge, but also there's a over-reliance of Baitbridge as a route, and sometimes those fibres do go down, and there is service interruption. In this case, we're bringing internet through Botswana.
Some Zimbabweans residing in border towns opt for foreign internet services due to its affordability and accessibility. However, the latest upgrade will address these challenges by prioritizing underserved communities.
Where there are power cables, there's an internet cable. So it's like from Beitbridge all the way to Kariba. We have our cables hung overhead. So what it means is everyone, even in the those in the rural areas, will be able to enjoy high-speed, affordable internet.
This digital transformation is expected to commence in November this year. But the big question is, can this development revolutionize access and quality of internet in the country? For ZTN Prime, I am Sitachisiwe Gwaza.
Now, time for us to take a break. When the Mint returns, the Road Accident Fund of South Africa has applied for a contempt of court order against the South African Revenue Services. The Mint will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoilt.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
The guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Harare, tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Catch exclusive interviews every weekday for candid, exciting and thought-provoking conversations with your host, Erika Ndoro.
We talk about arts, we can talk about sports, we can even talk about politics, and sometimes we venture into a nice guitaristic play. The one story where you can't get out of your head. Wakatarisa munhu so Erika like where you are sitting. Ndozongokona bata face so pasina munhu.
Wakasiya music yako yo afro chakuti ndo music manje no yeMzimbabwe.
And I'm sure they're still saying the same thing now.
Yeah, so Shona kana kuti Chindevere kana mumwe mutauri muno muZimbabwe ndiwe iwewe. Ndiwo rupawo rwako. Ndicho chidadiso chako.
Catch me, Erika Ndoro, right here on ZTN Prime every single Monday at 7 p.m. whilst we get exclusive.
Welcome back to the Mint. We're coming to you from Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. I'm Ibn Mabunda. Now, the Road Accident Fund of South Africa has applied for a contempt of court order against the South African Revenue Services because of its alleged failure to adhere to an interim interdict prohibiting the Tax Collection Authority from deducting 5.1 billion rand or any part of this amount from the RAF fuel levies it collects for the fund. Suspended RAF CEO Collins Letsolo appealed to Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Transport in a meeting with the RAF last week to help the fund with the issue of non-payment by SARS. He added that SARS has acted in and out of order, therefore they've opened a case of contempt of court against them. Letsolo added that Minister of Finance Enoch Godogwana was since April this year supposed to have submitted a certain affidavit to court on an urgent basis, but he has not done it, and so SARS keep on deducting the money. Questioned by Transport Portfolio Committee Chairperson Selelo Selamola about the issue, Letsolo said the RAF had won its case against SARS, but the tax authority ignored the court order and still deducted the money. He indicated that by now he is sure SARS has probably deducted 5 billion rand of that money. The dispute between the RAF and SARS relates to diesel refunds claimed by Eskom in terms of the Customs and Excise Act. This followed SARS deciding that Eskom was not entitled to the diesel refunds for a period of about 30 months between 2019 to 2020, resulting in a dispute between SARS and Eskom. Now, gold miners operating in Ghana and Ivory Coast are refusing to comply with tax increases imposed this year, saying the new regulations flout their existing license agreement. Countries across West Africa have been taking advantage of soaring gold prices to increase mining taxes and raise additional revenue to plug gaping budget deficits and ease high debt levels. Mining companies in the region have mostly complied, apart from in Ghana and Ivory Coast, Africa's top and seventh biggest gold producers respectively, where companies say terms agreed when licenses were granted should be honored by both parties to protect and spur investment in the six industry, sources have said. Mining companies have agreed between themselves not to pay the extra taxes while they negotiate with the Ivory Coast and Ghana governments to repeal the hikes, according to the sources. Producers in the two countries include Goldfields, Newmount, Anglo Gold, Ashanti, Barrick Endeavour, Allied Gold and Perseus. In January, Ivory Coast introduced a flat royalty tax of 8% of annual revenue, according to a document seen by Reuters, up from the 3 to 6% previously, depending on the miner's contract. Ghana, which has defaulted on its debt and is undergoing a debt restructuring, raised a tax on gold miners' annual gold gross output to 3% in March from 1% after appealing to the companies to help it plug revenue gaps, said a source in the country's finance ministry. The mines and finance ministries in Ghana and Ivory Coast did not respond to requests for comment. Also in the region, military-ruled Burkina Faso introduced a sliding scale royalty regime in February, linking royalties to gold prices, which miners have largely complied with. Two other sources familiar with the matter have indicated. Miners in Mali, Niger, and Guinea have also been mostly complying with aggressive regulations introduced by new mining codes. Gold prices have surged nearly 30% this year, driving up profits for gold miners in the first quarter, but sudden regulatory changes are a frequent obstacle to doing business in Africa. Now, driven by increasing demand for quick lime, slaked lime and hydraulic lime in Africa, the market is expected to continue an upward consumption trend over the next decade. Market performance is forecast to decelerate, expanding with an anticipated compounded annual growth rate CAGR of plus 0.7% for the period from 2024 to 2035, which is projected to bring the market volume to 15 million tons by the end of 2025. The value terms, the market is forecast to increase with an anticipated CAGR of plus 2.3% for the period from 2024 to 2025, which is projected to bring the market value to $3 billion by the end of 2035. For the 12th consecutive year, Africa recorded growth in consumption of quick lime, slaked lime and hydraulic lime, which increased by 0.9% to 14 million tons in 2024. The total consumption volume increased at an average annual rate of 1.8% from 2013 to 2024. The trend pattern remained relatively stable, with only minor fluctuations being recorded in certain years. Over the period, consumption of attained the peak volume in 2024 is likely to see steady growth in years to come. The revenue of the market for quick lime, slaked lime and hydraulic lime in Africa shrank slightly to $2.3 billion in 2024, falling by minus 4.4% against the previous year. This figure reflects the total revenues of producers and importers, costs, retail marketing costs, and retailers' margins, which will be included in the final consumer price. The total consumption indicated a tangible expansion from 2013 to 2024. Now, as Israel and Iran continue to exchange deadly salvos, there are growing concerns that the conflict will spread across one of the world's key oil and gas producing regions. Equity markets initially were roiled after Israel's surprise attack on Friday, but have since stabilized. A day after Israel killed several of Iran's top military commanders and nuclear scientists and damaged some of its nuclear sites, Israel then hit Iran's fossil fuel sector on Saturday, with Iranian state media reporting a blaze at the South Pars gas field. More than 220 people have been killed in the Israeli attacks, including at least 70 women and children, according to Iranian authorities. Iran responded with a barrage of ballistic missile and drone strikes, a small percentage of which succeeded in penetrating that particular territory. Of note is that a full-blown war could make things even worse, much worse. Experts warned Brent crude, the global benchmark, rallied to $74.60 per barrel early on Monday. That marked an almost 7% increase from Thursday, the day before Israel launched its surprise attack. The shipping industry must set a global example in protecting marine ecosystems through cooperation and green initiatives, said International Maritime Organization Secretary General Arsenio Dominguez at the recent third UN Ocean Conference. The 5-day conference in Nice, France, concluded on Friday, bringing together over 15,000 participants, including 60 heads of state and government. The gathering adopted a political declaration committing nations to science-based multilateral action for ocean conservation. In an interview with the China Media Group, Dominguez noted that the IMO's unique role as a UN specialized agency enables it to bring nations together to address maritime challenges.
One of the strengths of IMO as a specialized agency of the United Nations is the ability to bring all the countries together and stakeholders on the table and address any challenge that shipping may be facing. Our objectives will always be to enhance the safety.
And that's a wrap on The Mint today. Do follow us on our social media handles as Papers TV Network, as well as at ZTN Prime. Remember to catch us every weekday at 2 p.m. Central African Time for the juiciest business stories in Zimbabwe, on the continent, as well as beyond. I'm Ibn Mabunda, the Money Man. Let them do what they do. When we do what we do, we mean business. Thank you for watching and have a good day.